Hey, here we go. Oh shit. I'm gonna let y'all come up in here. Ooh, there we go. Come on in here, chat. Come on in here. And welcome to everybody. We're gonna talk today about how black folks have flipped Thanksgiving into our own thing. And some way for a few more y'all to come in here before I jump all the way up in. For those of you watching later on, we're gonna get started with this topic in 1 second. Just gonna get a few more people to come in. But what's up, Brian? What's up, everybody? Yeah, happy motherfucking Turkey Day. And I want to talk about that. What's up, Frank Green? Faced by... Scroll too fast. Somebody said... Hey, what's his name? What that typing in all caps? Hey, James Marshall. You got to be funnier than that if you're going to type in all caps. As a matter of fact, people that type so-called jokes in all caps aren't funny. That's why you type it in caps. You know you're not funny. Why are you wasting our time with that bad joke? A mad joke. Hey, chat room. We got a too bad. It's the holidays, so I'm feeling a little gracious. There's a too bad joke limit. You give it 2 bad jokes, you're out of here. 2 bad jokes, you're out of here. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, that joke was horrible. Like, it's okay. All right. I get it. Some jokes just aren't funny. No, that's fine. But that shit was bad. That nigga typed in all caps like, I'm about to get him. I'm about to get him. Brr, 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 brr. You bomb, nigga. Now sit back and watch the rest of the show with no typing and commenting abilities, because you suck. I swear to God, it's nothing worse than people who, you be ready to laugh at something. I like to laugh. Y'all know me. What's up, Coke? Is Coco Girl that netta? Y'all names is all flipped up. They, unfunny people, man. Y'all the worst, man. Because we be trying to have. I like to laugh, man. Laughing is fun. Like, I don't know about y'all, but laughing is one of my favorite pastimes. Like, I love to laugh, even if the joke's on me. If it's a laugh, I'm good. But you niggas somehow, some of y'all make laughing so difficult. Like, goddamn. It shouldn't be that hard to make somebody laugh. And if it is that hard to make somebody laugh, everybody ain't got personality. I get it. Just stop trying. It's that simple. You'll get way bigger laughs unintentionally if you just lived your life and just commented on what you saw. Every now and again, you'll say something that'll make people go, ha, 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 that was funny. But when you decide to put your joke in all caps, you should know off top, you ain't got no business trying to be funny. Just leave that shit alone and chill. All right? I ain't got no Kush mints. I forgot what I was smoking on. I just ordered a QP yesterday, 2 and 2. 2 ounces of this, 2 ounces of that. And I just combined the two. But let's get into what we're talking about, Thanksgiving. Where my papers at? Okay. All right. I appreciate that, Coco Grow. So you, Netta, you got the playlist. Oh, I think you did comment in Patreon. So you like the playlist. For those of you who are on Patreon and on all tiers, I created my a master playlist. And what I did, and we're about to get started with the topic in a few minutes. What I did for my master playlist, I got a bunch of different playlists I've been making ever since the first days of iTunes, going back to Napster. Um, I created a bunch of different playlists. I had a playlist that featured music from the 50s and the 60s. I had a different playlist. Well, I still have these different playlists. I have a separate playlist, my classic R&B playlist. That's music primarily of the late 60s into the early 80s. But the classic R&B is more slow, more melodic, more relaxed. Then I had the classic R&B list had like 800 songs on it. The 60s and 50s R&B playlist had close to 200 songs. Then I had a funk playlist that featured music of the 70s that was more up tempo, and that playlist had like 400 songs on it, 450 songs. And it had another playlist that was music of the 80s and the 90s, and that one was like 200 songs deep, 200 plus songs deep. What I did was I fused all of those separate playlists together and created one master playlist with about 1,500 songs. And that master playlist is up now on Patreon. So make sure that y'all go ahead and if you love R&B, that playlist is it. It's an R&B playlist. You're gonna hear everything, and it's a lot of songs on that playlist that you're not gonna find on traditional Spotify and iTunes because it's a lot of songs on that playlist that I got from Napster. Y'all remember Napster? Who remembers Napster and Kazaa? It's a lot of songs on those playlists that come off Napster and Kazaa, and so they're not on. And a lot of them come off CDs. A lot of my CDs I had back in the day that are no longer that are not on the site. So make sure y'all do that. Hey, yeah, Kazaa LimeWire. Yeah, a lot of those are Kazaa LimeWire. So if you hear certain songs where the quality isn't that good, that's because it's a Kazaa LimeWire or Napster download. You say you ain't seen me go live lately? Yeah, that's because YouTube be tripping on my algorithm. I'm gonna start my topic at the 10-minute mark. All right, we're gonna start the topic at the 10-minute mark. Also, we I have I'll be doing more of these late night lives on in my from when I go live from my phone. I'm gonna start doing those over on TikTok because like the homie was telling me, my man my what's up do the math. One of my cameraman, the person I do my partner Hassan, who I do my documentaries with, he was telling me about all the bread that's on TikTok. I said, "Word?" He was like, "Man, it's bread over there, man. Like, what you do? You need to be over on TikTok." So I'm about to start going on TikTok like 2 or 3 times a week, talking music. I'm about to go on TikTok talking music about 2 or 3 times a week. Okay. So follow me on. Oh, they let you play music too? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Follow me on TikTok is Dwann B1 over on TikTok. TikTok is Dwann B1. So y'all know Dwann, the same tag I have here on this channel and Twitter, but just put a 1. Dwann B1. The same as my Cash App. The same as my Cash App. Dwann B1 on Twitter. So yeah, I should have been over on TikTok with what I do. But yeah, I'm probably gonna start either tomorrow or Saturday. TikTok Dwann B1. My clips go. I've had a lot of clips go viral because like when I clip up this show, I send them over to TikTok, and I've had a lot of clips go viral on TikTok, and I've been eligible to go live for like a year. I was like, is that kind of money over there? Shit. Oh, and you can play music, and I ain't man. It's Thanksgiving night, so we're gonna let our man Amir be drunk as y'all, everybody say what's up to my drunk ass mod Amir. Anyway, let's get into it. So let's get into Thanksgiving, how we flipped it. Culturally, see, today's Thanksgiving, and this is a day that a lot of people this is a day that people that we need to I don't let me say that back. Let's start over. Thanksgiving is a holiday that a lot of black folks, especially those of us who are conscious, have been guilted into not celebrating, not acknowledging. How many times have y'all heard, I'm not gonna do nothing on that white man's holiday? That's a white man's holiday. What you look like saying and celebrating that white man's holiday? Be a lot of that shit. That's the white man's day. What the fuck is you doing celebrating that white man's day? And I gotta admit, there were a few years to where I was like, I'm not celebrating that white man's day. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna mind my business and I'm not gonna do nothing on that white man's day. How many times have y'all heard some shit like that? And it's a quagmire, because you know what this country has done to you and to your people. And I get it. You don't want to celebrate what this country is about. But I want people to not. Yeah, DeAndre said you used to have that feeling? Yeah, it's like for us, I'm about to sit out here because I be having bad coverage in my garage sometimes. And I don't want to lose y'all, so let me come on out here. My garage be having some bad coverage sometimes. But I want, for anyone who still has that mindset, I want to see if I can help free you of that. I want to see if I can help free you of that mindset. Because days like Thanksgiving and any holiday, you flip holidays into your greatest good, whatever that is. For me, I do like what Netta said earlier in the chat. These are days that, look, man, we work hard, yo. Black folks, we some hardworking people. We work hard. You don't get many days off. Now that I'm a business owner, I work more than I did when I worked for somebody. But there's a lot, you don't really get days off. And then for those people who do get days off, A lot of your family don't get days off, you know? My sister's a teacher. She don't get days off like that. My brother's a cop. He don't get days off like that. My parents, they're now retired, so they get days off. But for years, my parents just recently retired, you know? So it ain't that many days you can really get with your family like that, you know? Family, you enjoy the playlist? That's what's up. We, yeah, that's what's up, Frank. We, we are some hardworking people. And as long as our families are still living, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, I think that is very important that we spend as much time as we can with them. You know, it's not guaranteed. You know, every year you look up at somebody that you love, or almost every year, whether it be a cousin, a friend, a family member that's no longer here. You know, sometimes I look back on Facebook memories, it's like, damn, they really gone. And I was looking at one of my friends that's gone, and like, dude's gone before the age of 50. Who would have imagined, you know? Like, you know, then I look back at my grandmother, you know. Thanksgiving reminds me of my Aunt Ella and Uncle Son, and how we used to always go over to their house in the 80s and the 90s and over off 74th and Western. You know, Uncle Son died. Damn, me and my mom was talking about him today. He's my uncle I told you about that helped build the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza, the Macy's over there. And he died in 1994. I was like, damn. 94 was the last, 93 was our last Thanksgiving with him. My cousin Michael, who died in 96, it's like, I look back on those days like, damn, man, I got a dope ass family. And just being around family, that is precious time. You cannot allow your anger over what this country's done to our people to get in the way of being with your people. Because when you do an act of resistance and your action is controlled by somebody else's action, that means they still control you. Let me say that again. When you allow your actions to be dictated by somebody else's action, that person you're allowing to dictate your action is controlling you, or that entity. Now, if you don't fuck with your family, you're an ISO person, you don't really, that's fine. You be who you are, but some people have family that was abusive to you. And I get it. You don't want to be around nobody that was abusive to you, you know? This isn't for everybody. Some people got family that ain't shit. And for those of you who got family that ain't shit, I'm sure you I get it. Take this time to be around your friends who love you, you know? But the time that this can be painful for people who've been done wrong by the holidays can be very painful for people who've had certain experiences. You know? So salute to y'all who've had those negative experiences, and you're gonna cope however you cope, you know? But when I look at holidays like Thanksgiving, I think about how, like, my family has been here since the first Thanksgiving. This is a day that great memories are created. I had such a good time with my sister and my brother today. We was me, my sister and my brother get together. We be clowning, and we was just talking about this. We was going back to talking about me, my brother, and my dad. We were talking about my cousin, my Uncle Fred. I told y'all about Uncle Fred before, haven't y'all? Y'all remember me talking about Uncle Fred, the one that parked the bus to whoop somebody's ass? Him. We were telling more Uncle Fred stories. Rest in peace, Uncle Fred. But we was talking some Uncle Fred stories today, and I heard some stuff I hadn't heard before. My brother was telling me a story, Uncle Fred story. I told you Uncle Fred was always whooping ass. My brother's a cop, right? He was saying this story is about, cause Uncle Fred died like in 2012, so he's been gone for a while. 2012, 2013. My brother was telling me and my dad a story. He was patrolling in Compton, and he was driving through, and he just happened to dip around a corner. Mind you, Fred is in his late 50s at this time. Late 50s, maybe early 60s, but late 50s. My brother sees Uncle Fred in the face of 4 gang members. 4. These niggas is in their 20s, 30s, 20s. Fred's in his late 50s, early 60s. He up in all 4 of them faces, and my brother said he dipped around the corner in the sheriff car, and he hear it because Uncle Fred had a very loud voice. He was real loud, like this. This how Uncle Fred talk. That nigga talk like this. And he's telling them how he about to whoop their ass. And he was like, I'm gonna get my sons. Then right, my brother said he got around the corner. He gets out the car. He's like, my Uncle Fred's like, there go my nephew right now. He'll fuck you up. To these gangsters, because he didn't like the way these gangsters were standing in front of his house. The dude's in his late 50s telling these gangsters not to stand in front of his house. And he's about to fight all 4 of them. Luckily, my brother shows up just in time in his cop car. My brother gets out the cop car, and Uncle Fred was like, yeah, now what's up, man? Nigga, he said, we got the police here. He said, we could take a fair one. Uncle Fred was trying to get a fair one. With like, he's like, I can't whoop all 4 of you niggas. Let me get one. We got the cops here. Let's take a fair one. Uncle Fred was trying to have a fair fade with a gangster. My brother broke it up, whatever. After my brother broke it up, Uncle Fred went right back to the 4 gangsters and made them donate. He's like, yeah, nigga, and I'm a pastor. If you motherfuckers care, donate to my motherfucking church. This nigga, Uncle Fred, when he was alive, used to go to the gangsters and the hustlers and make them donate to his church because he was a pastor. He was an assistant pastor. This nigga used to like really make the gangsters donate. He was like, yeah, motherfucker, now donate to my church, nigga. And my brother was like, they gave up money. Like one, he said one dude put like a whole wad of cash out and gave it to him. And that was like the second, my brother was like, he was sort of known in the hood for hemming up the gangsters and making them donate to his church. Like, for real, we talking Compton, yo. We talking Compton. He used to hem them niggas up and make them donate to his church. That's Uncle Fred for you, man. Then we was talking about my grandfather. These are the stories you get on Thanksgiving, you know? We was talking about my grandfather. You know, my grandfather, he retired in 1989. Right before he retired, you know, he was training his replacements. And he was, of course, being replaced by a Mexican. dude. But my grandfather helped start that company with the owners. Like when the owners broke out, started the company. Not like how it is all the time. They got the money, but my grandfather's the one that had the smarts. So my grandfather helped these people start. So they left my grandfather alone the whole time he worked there. He started working with them in the late '60s, all the way till he retired in 1989. And the person he was my grandfather was training. My grandfather would always call him a stupid motherfucker. My grandfather would be like, "Hey, you stupid motherfucker," and that's how he taught him how to cut chickens. And my grandfather used to be able to weigh the chickens with his hands. He didn't need a scale. He could tell the difference within a quarter pound just by holding. He'd be like, okay, this is 2 1/4, this is 2 3/5, this is 2 1/2, this is 3. And he could hold a chicken in his hand and weigh it. So of course, this Mexican dude, my grandfather training can't do that. I can't. No one could do that. Like, you need a scale. So my grandfather's like, okay, little stupid motherfucker, hold it like this, and then put it down. And what he would do is when he would quarter his chickens, he would chop them up real fast. Do. Now you do it, you stupid motherfucker. And the dude's like, hey. Then my grandfather like, all right, you stupid motherfucker, I'm gonna show you one more time. This is how you cut a chicken. And then of course, dude's like, so the dude goes to the owner of the company. And he goes to the owner of the company. He says, Mr. Salavi, it's Mr. Percy keeps, I'm trying to learn, but he goes too fast and he keeps calling me a stupid motherfucker. Like, I don't like that. Percy keeps calling me a stupid motherfucker. And so the owner of the company calls my grandfather into the office. And he says, Percy, he keeps saying, he keeps saying you calling him a stupid motherfucker. You know what my grandfather said? My grandfather said, come on, Mike. I didn't call that stupid motherfucker a stupid motherfucker. And walked out. They were like, that's Percy. The meat department is his department. And my grandfather, he had the meat department, and you did not fuck with him. But that's just us. That's just we have such a strong tradition as a people. We use these holidays to come together and learn from the elders and tell family stories. Hey, Robert 3910, you were timed out because your joke wasn't funny. Okay? And that goes for everybody else. You can crack jokes, but it better be funny, or my mods, if your jokes don't make my mods laugh, they kicking your ass out, okay? Mr. Smoke said Lucky's Market. Lucky's, that's that takes me back to the 90s, early 90s. Lucky's turned into Albertsons. Well, yeah. We gotta flip things into our greatest good, You don't allow somebody else's holiday to dominate, somebody else's point of view on a holiday to dominate yours. Let me give you an example, okay? And you said, you have a question, how do I know if I should get something but try? You just got to go up there and do it. With stand up, the only way you going to do it is by doing it. Stand up, it ain't nothing to it but to do it. That's the only way with stand up comedy. You just got to do it. Jump in 2 feet and do it. And if you like it, keep doing it. If you don't do it no more. But yeah, boys market, yeah. But let's break it down again. Holidays. This is why, see, when it comes to holidays, power is naming how you flip a holiday. Most holidays are in alignment with the universe, astrology, or some sort of spiritual thing. Like Halloween is right before the Day of the Dead, but the reason why Halloween falls on October 31st is because that's the time spiritually that the veil between the human world and the spiritual world is the thinnest. It's easiest to talk to ancestors, speak to the other side. Between October 30th, November 2nd, that window, that 3 or 4 day window, is the time that you have greater access to the other side. And it's flipped into Halloween for us. Day of the Dead for Mexicans, when Mexicans sleep, for a lot of Mexican religion people from Mexico, Dia de los Muertos, something like that they call it. But Day of the Dead, those days happen for a reason. That's why Halloween falls on those days. There's a spiritual time that the veil is thinnest between Earth and between what we know as physical reality and spiritual reality. Yeah, Dia de los Muertos, yeah. And then you have days like Christmas. Christmas is the day the sun rises again. The shortest day of the year, is December 21st, the winter solstice, and then you have 23rd, 24th, 25th is the third day, and that's the day the days started getting longer. So that's the rising, that's the birth of the sun, the rebirth of the sun. That's why Christmas falls on that day. Easter, the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. That's Easter, the first Sunday after the first full moon of the spring equinox. 4th of July, that star right there. Let me see if I can show y'all. That star right there, that's Sirius. Let's get serious. Let's get serious. Let's get serious and fall in love. That's Sirius right there. There, of course, there's the 4th of July is about the day that star is in perfect alignment with the sun during the day. And that's why if you notice on the 4th of July, it's always a tad bit sunnier on the 4th of July than it is, really the whole week, July 2nd through July 7th. That star right there is directly behind our sun. And that's the closest star to our planet, 4 light years away. Appreciate that, Isaac P. Appreciate the super chat. But that star right there, which is the closest star to our sun in the solar system, 4 light years away, is in direct alignment with the sun. And that's why the United States chooses July 4th as the day to celebrate independence. And that's also why the United States and France and other colors choose red, white, and blue as the colors of the star.
Because if you look at Sirius right now, it's shining blue and white, but it's more so red when it's on the horizon. So that's what holidays are. Oftentimes, they're astrological stories, they're spiritual stories. Thanksgiving, this goes back to the Spanish Inquisition, actually. Thanksgiving was around the time that the Spanish Inquisition, when the Moors finally relinquished control in 1491 of Al-Andalus, which later became Spain after the conquest. And it's celebrated as in a lot of ways it's a conquest day for multiple empires. But at the end of the day, all of these current holidays that we celebrate, they were celebrated before we celebrated them in the way we celebrate them. I want to say pagan holidays. All of these holidays that these white folks got, they got it from somebody else. And what they did with these long-standing holidays, they imprinted their own point of view, their own celebration on top of what a previous culture celebrated. Because at the end of the day, energy is energy. And you can use the energy however you want to use the energy. You know what I mean? So just because you celebrate something on this day don't mean I can't come celebrate what the fuck I want on top of what you do. That's power. Power is saying that I'm going to take the path of least resistance. Power is taking the path of least resistance. We're already off today. We're already around family today. Let's take that path of least resistance to celebrate what I want to celebrate today. That's power. Because that's all we're celebrating when we celebrate Christmas. Christmas is a celebration of the sun. Ain't no goddamn Saint Nick and no fucking Santa Claus. They threw Santa Claus on top of an astrological celebration. That's all Christmas is. Easter, they threw Jesus on top of an astrological celebration. You dig? So don't feel guilty because as black folks, nigga, we ain't celebrating no fucking Pocahontas and thankful for the Pilgrims, and niggas don't celebrate Plymouth Rock on the 4th of July. We watch football, eat good food, and talk a lot of shit. We do what the fuck we do on Thanksgiving. Ain't nobody walking around no stupid, ugly ass hat. And hell, I don't even eat turkey on Thanksgiving. Turkey is good. Like, I like ground turkey. I do turkey with a lot of things, but just a straight turkey, I really don't eat. My wife is the only like moist. Like, my wife knows how to get a turkey moist. I don't know how the fuck she do it. But I still don't really. Turkey is for like 2 or 3 days later when I want to make some turkey sandwiches. That's what turkey's good for me. I don't goddamn gobble gobble. Fuck a gobble gobble. But there are other people who do. Yeah, turkey's a sandwich. That is. That's real talk. Is that Signaga? I haven't seen you in here, but I was on that same shit. Is that Signaga? Signaga? I used to be on that same shit. When I was on, I'm glad you brought up the Pan African tip. When I was on my Pan African tip, same way with me. Man, it's the white man holiday. What I look like celebrating the white man holiday. We went through my ancestors didn't go through 250 years of slavery for me to celebrate a white man's holiday. Then I found out, I did my own family research. I was like, damn. My family low-key did fight in the Civil War. My family fought in the War of 1812. My family fought in Vietnam, Korea, or as an old black man say back in the day, I fought in Korea. That's how they old. He was around back. Press number one if you had an ancestor that fought in the Korean War. They'd be like, yeah, I fought in Korea. They always said Korea. Family that fought in the Spanish-American War, family that fought in the Revolutionary War. At the end of the day, if my family had enough love for this country to fight for it and not leave, I could relax. Fuck am I? If it was that bad, my family wouldn't have fought on them fucking wars. Just putting two and two together, right? That's just me kind of just putting two and two together. If it was that, like, my family didn't leave. I'm over here thinking about Africa, but my family that was here didn't think enough about Africa to go there. I'm not going to celebrate this white man. My family didn't give a fuck about no white man. It's a fucking day off. My grandparent, like my grandmother and my grandfather, and I think the first people I think about as ancestors are my elders that I knew. That's why, Brian, you can transmute inner energy. It's like I remember Thanksgiving with Aunt Ella and Uncle Son. Uncle Son was born in Overton, Texas in 1915. To my great grandmother, who had him at the age of 4. She was born in 1901. She was 15. 14 when she conceived him. She was 15 when she had Uncle Son. That's why we called him Uncle Son. Because it was her son, but like to her kids, he was like an uncle because the rest of her kids, she didn't have until Big Mama had the rest of them kids. She got to her late 20s. But her first, she had like at 15. And from Overton, Texas. And Big Mama, I don't know where Big Mama comes from because Big Mama was born in Alabama, but she left because there was like an abusive, I think like somebody in her family was abusive. So she basically left and moved to Overton, Texas at like the age of, with family at like the age of like 10, 8 or 8, something like that. But when she left Alabama, she didn't go to Africa. She just went to East Texas. Overton is outside of Tyler. Overton's about 3 hours from Dallas. It's a small, like, 1-lane road. I've been to Overton, New London, Lufkin. I got a lot of family up over there. Lufkin, Texas. And it's still there too. Still got land down there. My family didn't go to Sierra Leone. They didn't. They when the whole situation with Liberia came, my family said, "Good, I'll stay here." You say, got people from Lufkin? Yeah, I got people from Lufkin. I remember when I would go down to East Texas in the summer, back in the '90s. Lufkin was the big town. That was the big city. Cause Overton is like, I remember we went down this 2-lane highway when we got out of Tyler, Texas, the freeway. We got off the 20 at Tyler. And I remember this because I was my dad's navigator, going back to when I was at the age of 7. But at this time, I'm like 10 or 11. So my mom would sit in the back seat, and her and my sister would be running their mouth. And I was always the navigator. I would sit in the front seat with my dad. And I would, my dad taught me how to use a Thomas guide when I was a kid. But for the road trips, we used to get them big ass AAA maps. This is way, you young niggas, y'all can put it up on your phone. I'm talking about them big ass maps. And my dad would mark them before he would plan out the trips and mark them like maps 1 through 3. And then he would like, okay, Dwann, pull out map number 2. We in Texas now. And we need to get from Dallas to Overton. And I'll be sitting right there next to my dad, telling my dad where to go. So I remember we got to Overton, and we saw this lady. We couldn't find our cousin's house. Hey, my dad still got the maps. Quick side story. I'm kicking it with my dad like 2 months ago. My dad and like one of his homeboys, a couple of my parents are really close with, they took a couple's trip to Lake Tahoe. I'm with my dad kicking it. This was a Labor Day. On Labor Day. I'm over there on Labor Day. And my dad still had the AAA map. Like planning out the trip to Tahoe, because they were going like to Tahoe the next day or a day after, a couple of days later. I'm like, Dad, you could use your phone and just type in the address of the hotel you're going to, right? He was like, yeah, I know I could do that. My dad was like, yeah, I know I can do that. Nigga looked at me like, back to this map. My dad really, like, he unfolded them. You know the ones they fold into like a sleeve, and then but it pulls out into this big ass map. My dad had the whole big ass map. I was like, okay, yeah, well now what we gonna do is we're gonna leave, we're gonna go up to 5. And then when we get to Sacramento, we're gonna turn on that 80. And then it's gonna loop around. Like, or you can just put it in your phone, Dad. You got a fucking Cadillac. You got navigation in that motherfucker. My dad got CarPlay. you got CarPlay, Pops. My dad had the map. I love my dad, man. I love my father and my mom. I love them both. I had a great time with them today. With both my parents. I love them motherfuckers so much. But back to what I was saying. So we in Overton, and we see this lady driving down the street. And we're looking for Peanut Smith. We look for first Peanut, that's her name. But I think on my mom's side, yeah, their last name is Smith. Her. And so we asked, and she was like, oh, I know where she lived. She lived up, she was like, it was some lady. She was like, she lived on the other side of downtown. And we like, other side of downtown? She said, follow me, I'll show you where she lives. I swear to God, we drove less than half a mile. Downtown was a shopping center with a with a grocery store, a courthouse, a church. I mean, the city center, the courthouse, church, and a cemetery. That was downtown, like 4 buildings. We drove like less than a half mile. She was like, that's where she lived right there. We was like, you could have pointed to that. But that's how, that was my first memory of Overton, Texas, how just peaceful. My family got horses down there, you know? And when Big Mama left, when Big Mama left Overton, Texas, she moved to LA. Big Mama didn't move to Burkina Faso. Big Mama didn't move to the Congo. Big Mama didn't move to Sierra Leone. Big Mama moved to LA. When my great-great-granddad was to be handed down land in Natchez, Mississippi in 1855, it was in his slave master / father's will to leave his slave, because his slaves, he had his kids, he had his wife, but he also had kids he had with his slaves. And this particular slave master wanted to leave my great-great-great-granddad the land of the house in Natchez, Mississippi in the year 1855. It was the government of Mississippi, the governor, that stepped in and said, and I have the newspaper clipping because I found the newspaper clipping on Ancestry.com. And it said, due to unforeseen circumstances, I cannot accommodate the will handing down this land to a slave. The government is going to will the land basically back to his white kids. You know where my great-great-great-granddad went to after that? He didn't go to Ethiopia. He didn't go to Mali. He didn't go to Morocco. He moved to Michigan. You're right, Natchez was popping. At the time in 1855, this is before the Civil War, Natchez was like the second most valuable, like wealthy city in the South, behind like Richmond. I think like Norfolk had the port, but Natchez was right there with New Orleans. It was just behind New Orleans economically. Natchez, Mississippi was competing with cities in the north because Natchez, Louisiana, but it's right there on the Louisiana-Mississippi border. Natchez that's where the cotton was the richest, and that's where Natchez is where all the cotton was getting shipped out of. Some of that stuff would go down to New Orleans, but for the most part, all that cotton in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, that would all come through Natchez. Good job, Brian Barnes. But I'm glad that person said that. You mentioned Faison Love. Come to the Hidden History Museum December 20th. I just booked Faison Love this coming December 20th at the Hidden History Museum. I got Faison Love, Buddy Lewis, Antoine Young, K Dot, and Kanisha Bus. It's gonna be funny than a motherfucker. So I'm not sure if Tariq has announced it yet on his show, but the next show is gonna be at the Hidden History Museum, December 20th. Faison Love is headlining, y'all. Yeah. Make sure y'all be there for that. What's up, American Tradesman? And I gotta say, on this Thanksgiving, I appreciate everybody up in here. I appreciate my mods. I appreciate the non-mods. If you're not a mod, it's not because I don't fuck with you. It's just that because sometimes I be in other chat rooms and literally everybody commenting has a mod wrench. And that should be looking weird. That's probably the only reason why Mr. Smoke ain't got a mod wrench right now. And like, it's not because, and Goddess, and not because I don't fuck with you. I fuck with you just as much as I fuck with my mods. Frank Green. I fuck with y'all, all of y'all equally. But just aesthetically, sometimes it look weird when everybody typing has a wrench. I'm silly, I'm sorry, but I love y'all the same. But I will go back through and start demodding. I did a sweep of demodding people about a year ago. I'm about to do another sweep. People who don't be up in here like that no more, I'm about to remove their wrenches and wrench up some people who be in here regularly. But I am about to demod a bunch of people sometime this weekend. No, and if they start coming back in here regularly, I might remod them. I don't know, but it's like anything else. It's some YouTube shows I used to watch all the time that I ain't got no issue with the content creator. I just don't watch their shit no more. I watch other people's shit. It happens. I don't take it personal. What's up, Monique? What's up, Shayla? Yeah. So let's get back to what we were talking about as far as why I'm glad that person earlier talked about Pan-Africanism. I got Tariq. Tariq made a good point on his show. I don't listen as much to his show as much as I used to, partially because on Sundays, usually I like going live around that same time and stuff like that. But I still like Tariq, but Tariq made a really, really good point. I listened to one of his recordings, and he was saying that Pan-Africanism gets you to look elsewhere other than here. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense when he said that, Like, because he said it in a different way, because I felt that years ago. And I told y'all the story before about how it was my wife that got me to look up my family history. I had no interest in looking up my family history. And then my wife that got me looking it up. And when she got me looking up my history, here it made me feel much more connected to the land. But when I had a Pan-African mindset, I was always talking about, like when I left the church, when I stopped going to church, I was talking about African spirituality. It was a lot of Dr. Ben. When I left the church, man, it became a lot of Dr. Ben, a lot of Dr. John Henry Clark, a lot of Leonard Jeffries, a lot of Sheikh Anta Diop, and Africa this, the Moors that. the Songhai Empire, the 18th dynasty, the 3rd dynasty, the Imhotep, and I was into that shit. Then I found Sonitor TV about 2012 when I first got on the internet on YouTube like that. I started watching Sonitor TV and watched all them niggas argue. Nigga, that shit was fun. That's back when I was, man, I'm not gonna celebrate no Thanksgiving. This the white man's holiday. Ugh, this the white man day. I'ma go over here and I'ma still stay home and eat some ham and some greens and shit, but man, I don't give a fuck about this holiday and niggas celebrating Thanksgiving. The fuck I look like celebrating a white man's holiday. I'm an African, you know. And you don't celebrate no Thanksgiving in Africa. Ain't no goddamn turkeys in Africa, you know. Ain't no Africans eating no goddamn cranberry sauce. Although I hate cranberry sauce. Like, look at these niggas over here. Got the nerve to eat German chocolate cake. You ain't no motherfucking German nigga. That's how you get to thinking. That's how you get to thinking. Person driving stupid. Eating the fuck I look like eating a German chocolate cake. Man, the fuck do I look like I'm from motherfucking Amsterdam, nigga? Little do we know, if you know your black history, German chocolate cake was created in in the United States of America by a black person. Ain't no fucking coconuts in Germany. But do y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, back when Brother Polite wore his African gowns and face paint to go to a debate. Y'all remember them days? Shit, back when we was seeing nigga Sarah Suit and Seti kill every nigga in a debate. You know, then Polite came through, and then nigga Sonetta had, I remember it was one of the shows where Sonetta had pictures of white people kissing Sonetta's feet on 125th. I used to love watching Brother Rich. Those were some of the best days in YouTube. Brother Rich and Sonetta would be out there with their camera on 125th, and then Dr. James Smalls would come through and drop an hour of knowledge. Kaba Kamene, back when he was still Booker T. Coleman. Hell, I remember watching Sonetta when Booker T. Coleman talked about changing his name from Booker T. Coleman to Kaba Kamene. Y'all remember that? Chris Vesey, you remember that? This nigga, you on 125th, the red and blue pill come through dropping knowledge. Salute to King Simon. I'm glad I've developed a dope relationship with King Simon, man. I love King Simon. Y'all tell him I said that. King Simon read my numbers, but I went to King Simon to read my numbers because I was always watching Brother Rich, you know, and he would just, King Simon would come on and just whoop, 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 whoop. And then King Simon reading my numbers, man, that was one of the best investments I made in myself, was having King Simon and Lloyd Strayhorn. That's his Strayhand. I got readings both Lloyd Strayhorn and King Simon. Having them brothers read my numbers was some of the best investments I've ever made in myself. Yeah, Professor Griff, Black Dot. Man, I got a lot of love for Black Dot. We Facebook friends. I got a lot of love for Black Dot and his son Malcolm. I think that's just beautiful watching those two work together. I'm glad that they back to at least doing the show every now and again. Because about a year ago, they said they were going to stop. But every now and again, they do a show. I love them too, you know? I appreciate all them. Brother Rich always had interesting people on the show. Sonetta, I remember the funniest, the funniest episode of Sonetta. Y'all want to hear the story real quick? It was Sonetta interviewing James Smalls. And I wish Larry was in the chat because to this day, me and Larry, whenever we bring this episode up, we laugh hard. And my wife, because I showed it to my wife. It's like a joke with me and my wife, Larry, we look at each other and you're going to see us laugh extremely hard. Sonetta was interviewing James Smalls. And this is when Sonetta was like in the living room. It was like they had like a red couch. Y'all remember them days? He's like in the living room somewhere. And Sonetta was like, let's get on the Christians. You know how Sonetta is. He's like, Brother Smalls, Professor Smalls, let's get on the Christians, They love Jesus and everything, but they love that. But then you got the Nawabians, you got these other folks over here who can't stand Jesus. People say Jesus was soft. People say Jesus was a fraud. Man, I done heard people say Jesus Christ was a faggot. I was like, did that nigga just say that? I had to, like, if there's any video I wish I can find, it would be that video. Because this is like one of the 3-hour-long Sonetta videos. I remember the year was 2015. And when he said that, I'm like, son, didn't nobody, it was the way, but you know how hard Sonetta talks. He was like, it's the way he said it. And then Brother James Moss was like, Sonetta, don't say. He's like, we don't want to disrespect the Christians like that. And Sonetta's like, no, I'm just saying what people say. This nigga Sonetta said, Jesus, I had never even though I don't go to church no more, even though I believe in throwing some jabs at Christians in the church, it's fun. But I ain't never heard nobody say Jesus Christ was a faggot. Like, dude. Sonetta, you're right. Sonetta debate, the debate era Sonetta, that shit was off the chain. I was like, that's too much. Like, dude, that's too much. And Professor Smalls, he held his own. He held his composure. He was like, Sonetta, don't say that. Like, but I laughed so hard. Just, I don't know. Sometimes it's just the nerve. Do you laugh hard because it's like, you's an ignorant motherfucker to say some shit like that, yo. But I still got to give Sonetta, people agree and disagree with him. And I stopped watching Sonetta a long time ago. Again, not because I have anything against Sonetta. I just, when it got to be, it's like when you go to the level of discoveries, self-discovery, there are levels of discovery. And when you're learning you learn things and then you start to find out, okay, what you like and what you don't like, but when you learn something new, like learning your spirituality, learning who you are as a black person, because America does such a great job of not teaching us and making sure we don't know who we are as black people. America makes sure of that. So unless, like, some people, it's like some of you niggas don't come in the chat and be like, my daddy been teaching me this shit since I was 2. Well, good for you, nigga. The rest of us went to regular school. Our parents didn't have no fucking time to teach us shit. And no, I wasn't reading no goddamn books when I was 12. I was playing Super Nintendo, okay? So a lot of us had to go through a self-knowledge thing, and what was presented to us when we left the Western thing was the African thing. Am I on point, chat, or is this just me? Is it just me, chat? Press number one if when you left whatever traditional, whether it be Islam, Christianity, Jehovah's, wherever you did, you kind of go right to Africa because that's kind of where we led. And so when you leave a Western ideology, get into Christian, like leaving Christianity. Okay, yeah, I feel me. When you get into the leaving the Christianity because you realize that you were lied to because it was forced upon you as a child. And if you're not there, I'm not saying you're wrong, because even though I don't go to church like I used to, I still hold true to the core tenets of what worked. The parable of the man with the 1, the 3, and the 5 talents is a parable that I live by. On my journey of self-discovery, I realized I was the one with the 5 talents. I got a lot of different things that I'm good at. But the Bible said it's my job, if God gave me those talents, to cultivate those talents. That's why I have a card reading business, IEP business. I used to do IEPs, but I have a business consulting business. I have an entertainment business. I have a bunch of different talents. And so, but it's that Bible verse that I've always held on to. So I said that to say, even though I said about Christianity, the meat of what the spirituality within Christianity that made sense, I retained. The parable of people don't understand the prodigal son parable. When people learn to understand and read the prodigal son as you yourself at 3 different stages of your own life, and not from the context like most Christians to browbeat somebody else. I ain't no more Bible verses than you. No, when you watch the prodigal son is you as a teenager. That's the one that blew off his wealth. The prodigal son is you in your 30s and your 40s when you start to play it more consistently, and you start to look down at the youngsters, like a lot of you niggas that be like, I don't like the drill music and these youngsters. If you read the prodigal son, you'll learn that's where you are, the older son. And then the father is where you are, and when you get to your 50s and your 60s, and you learn wisdom. So there's core things to learn from the Bible. But the religion shit can kick rocks to me. But if you still within it, all I gotta say is pick up the core values and let the chips fall where they may. But you grow up and you get out of that, and you start to find out and realize all the shit that you were lied to about. Outside of these core values, if you studied your Bible, because when I was in church, I did study my Bible. I was in church. I was true to it when I was in church. I would go years without missing a Sunday, unless I was sick. Like, I went to church 52 Sundays a year from the age of 3 until my 30s, other than if I was going out of town for something. But even in my college years, I would party till 4 or 5 in the morning and still be on the drums at church at 8 a.m. Sunday morning for 2 services, 8 and 11. So, I ingested a lot of that shit. But I also ingested a lot of bullshit, a lot of dogma, a lot of shit that just flat out don't work. Church music teaching you that you less than, Lord, I'm not shit. I ain't, basically, gospel music this is gospel music in a nutshell. I ain't shit until Jesus do something good for me. And if I do something bad, it's my fault. I take the blame for everything bad that I do. I give Jesus the credit for everything good that I do. And without Jesus, I ain't shit. That's basically the synopsis of most gospel music. And I'm doing a documentary on gospel music right now. I'm listening to a lot of fucking gospel music right now. I've been on a Mahalia Jackson kick all week. But gospel music teaches that you ain't shit over the most beautiful chords and the best singing ever. There's nothing more beautiful than Bessie Smith's voice. Nothing more beautiful than Yolanda Adams' voice. But they're basically telling you that you ain't shit. You know? Well, that's that nigga look back. I'm a nigga. I ain't got to check them corners. But I got cameras all around this bitch. Somebody, anything come moving, I'm going to get a notification on my phone. But, like, look at that one song. I never would have made it. I never would have made it. Nigga, yes, you made it, though, didn't you, nigga? The fuck you talking about? Never would have made it. Gospel music is cancerous. He's out. Brooks, I'm checking for his gun. You know, I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. Think about that. That song dropped in 94. Was there any gentrification in 94? Did we? And whether you're in LA, Atlanta, St. Louis, your black neighborhood was still a black neighborhood at that time. LA, we was getting a lot of Mexicans flooding in, but the majority of our neighborhoods was still mostly black when silver and gold came out. And we over here saying, I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. And then what ended up happening, we started getting some mega churches and losing the hood at the same time. We got all of Jesus and none of the gold. Music is a prayer. Think about how poisonous the song Silver and Gold is. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold in a world that silver and gold rules the land. Silver and gold rules. And we sang, I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. That song is beautiful, though. Go, especially at the bridge. Go, doom, doom, doom. Gold. Man, that's poison. Now behold the Lamb, the precious Lamb of God, born into sin that I may live again. You're telling yourself you're born into sin. Why are you so down on yourself? Why can't I say I'm born into love? My parents loved each other when they had me. Even if your parents didn't love each other, your mama loved you once she laid eyes on you. The reason, and if your daddy wasn't there, it's a lot of complicated reasons why fathers weren't there. Most of them were economic. It wasn't your fault. There's very few people who just flat out scumbags. Most people who didn't raise their children, it was economic. You were loved when you came here. So why are you focused on, I was born into sin? And you were born into sin. Lord, Jesus came down from heaven to come into sin with the rest of us and then save all of us. But I'm standing right here in the midst of my tears. But she's singing her motherfucking ass off, though. I love that song, man. I couldn't sleep about 2 months ago. I couldn't sleep. And I'm doing this gospel doc, and I just played gospel. I got up and just played like an hour of gospel music from like 4 in the morning till like the sun came up. And I played Now Behold the Lamb. And it got to that part. Oh, oh, oh. Man, that part, when you feel that part, dun, dun, dun. I used to play that at church. When I used to appreciate the Cash App, Unique Organics, I used to be on the drums playing that shit at church, tearing that motherfucker up because it got so much space. I'd be on the drums. Do, 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 do. Oh, man, I used to be showing my ass off on the drums. Hit my Chinese cymbal without looking. Nigga, thought I was a shit. Doom, 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 doubling up my foot. Nigga, I thought I was a shit on the drum. I was 17 years old playing Now Behold the Lamb. Not realizing I'm listening to some bullshit. Why am I saying that? Church, music is really a weapon. And if we could just change the words to gospel. Gospel music to me is Frankie Beverly and Mays. Isley Brothers. Earth and Fire, that's gospel to me. Parliament Funkadelic. There's a song by Earth and Fire called Sail Away. That's gospel. It's in 3/4 time. Come sail away and touch love, sweet love. Come sail away. Fall in love with love. Come sail on the wind as it blows through the fire. Like, that's gospel. Keep your head to the sky. Don't let the clouds tell you why. Keep your head to the sky. You need devotion. Be ever wonderful. Stay as you are. I think about that. He has the Earth and Fire song called Be Wonderful. Stay as you are. Things may not be as you see. Fantasy. That's gospel, nigga. That's some spiritual. You have to listen to Earth and Fire for the spiritual lens, okay? Let me teach y'all. Matter of fact, if you're on my Patreon, I have a class on Earth and Fire, a 2-part class, decoding Earth and Fire. I don't know if you're on, for those of you on Patreon, go back and check that out if you haven't checked it out. I have a 2-part class on decoding Earth and Fire. I'll do another one pretty soon. Decoding, it's on Patreon. It should be in one of the collections. It should be in the Music Mixes collection. On one of those collections. But, yeah, decoding Earth and Fire. They, you gotta listen to them from a spiritual lens, and you get a lot more out of their music. You can't just listen to bop your head to them. Same thing with Parliament Funkadelic. Especially the Funkadelic stuff before 75, but even after. Very spiritually heavy shit. Very spiritually heavy. Yeah, fantasy is just beautiful. It definitely, you know what? My sister called me about a month ago. My nieces, ages 16 and 13. My sister called. They didn't know she called, and I heard my nieces going, oh. I heard them singing. They're just going, oh. I ain't trying to wake my neighbors up. But These niggas was singing fantasy. My two nieces, they 13 and 16. They were trying to sing the notes, the Philip Bailey notes. It was like, you know? Listen to the stuff by Earth and Fire written by Skip Scarborough. I had the pleasure of meeting him when I was a kid. You know, the song Earth and Fire on Earth and Fire album. Born of the earth are nature's children, bred by the wind, the breath of life, touched by the fiery hand of God. World goes by the hand of the master plan. Can't you understand? You're nothing but a grain of sand. Do you need a guide to tell you why? Man, that song is so goddamn deep. You listen to a song called on the Head to the Sky album, a song called Masquerade. Can this world, the whole world is a masquerade. Everybody wears another face. Serpentine Fire is about the awakening of the Kundalini. So, I don't know how we got over here talking about this, but I think we needed to talk about it. But because what's the original topic? The original topic is, I done gone so far away from the original topic. Thanksgiving. We're talking about like making this Thanksgiving our own and family and our traditions and holidays. When it comes to these holidays, that's when you imprint your time, your thing, your point of view, your way of spending your time on the date. It ain't about what some white man said he gonna do it that day. If that nigga wanna cut a turkey and wear a goddamn pilgrim outfit, that's fine. Let him do it. Yeah. Elisina said, gospel use DMX, let me fly. Hey, that's good too. Hell, gospel to me is Outcast, nigga. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, make your holiday, your tradition, your thing. It ain't gotta be somebody else's thing. All it gotta be is yours. World goes by the hand of the master plan. Ohio players and like yeah. We have a strong tradition, folks. Very, very strong tradition. And if these motherfuckers want to give us a day or two off, shit, take it. Don't be on that. Earlier I was talking about gospel in the church. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about anger. I was talking about anger. Like, the first step The first step when you leave that church is anger. You get angry. You like, fuck, I was lied to. That's that first step. Anger, you were lied to. You feel betrayed. You mean tell me I invested my time in this? You like, and then so that's, for me, that was the silent letter phase for me. That was a silent letter phase for me. When I was watching silent letter a lot, like all the time, that was when I was in my angry, I wasted so much goddamn time in church. Time and period of my life. And a lot of us were there. And it's okay to be there, but you don't want to stay there, you know? You don't want to stay there. And at some point, you know, I couldn't just forever be on that, you know? And then you go to like the point to where you resolve it, and that's where you start to pick through and retain what worked, get rid of the rest. And then you get comfortable you get more into self-discovery. And for me, that's where the self-discovery phase is where I got more into off the Pan-Africanism thing and on the, you know what, I'm just going to kick it with my own people thing. You know? And that's when it became less about watching debates on against, you know, from the 5%ers versus the Nawapians. That's when it got past all the, you know, the trivial shit. No more trivial shit, you know? That's what I got into finding who my family is. That's why I could name my 6-time great-grandfather. His name on the census, not census, but on like all of his paperwork was Abraham, man of color, Scott, born 1715 in Virginia. Abraham, man of color, Scott. And he married Joan, Native American Took, who was of the Potawatomi tribe. I'm sorry, Powhatan. She was Powhatan. But that came on the self-discovery plot part. So when I get to the age of self-discovery, I'm no longer angry at Christianity. I've learned to take from Christianity what worked, leave the rest behind. No, I haven't heard of her, Brian. Hey, email me. Email me her channel, please. Email me if she has a YouTube channel or books. Either email that to me. What's up, Jay Jimerson? Jay Jimerson probably just now getting home from the club. But you know, when I got to the age of self-discovery, was right around the time was just before the delineation thing, just around that time. Like, okay, it's no longer about Christianity, because I was into Africa, everything, man. And I told you before, when I started my research that I do right now on my Black American Music Family Tree, when I started my research, initially, it was to draw stronger connections between our music and African music. I was really on my Pan-African tip at that time. But at the same time, the method I use for research, and I'm not saying I'm always right or I have the end all be all method, but I learned from what I learned in anthropology from when I was in college on how to source information and how to interpret information and knowing what questions to ask and what qualifies as a good answer. And the only thing that I had been hearing about our connection to African music is African polyrhythms, that was the first. African polyrhythms and what was the other one? The blue note scale. And oh yeah, and the drum. The blue notes, the drum, and African polyrhythm. Well, let me give you guys a standard question in anthropology. When you're trying to source the origin of something, the first question you ask is, does this thing exist in other places? And if you can't prove that it doesn't exist in other places, you can't draw a certain conclusion that this is the only place this thing comes from. And then once you find out for certain that this thing is done in multiple places, then you ask yourself, okay, time step. When did this place start doing it? When did that place start doing it? We can't answer that when it comes to polyrhythms because Native American, Lenape, Apache, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Poarch, all of these tribes have polyrhythms in their music. So when I find that, the next question is, can we pin down a date as to when this started? And the fact is, we can't. Because most Native American history, like a lot of African history, has been washed away. Or if not washed away, they got it. But the information, like Dr. Clyde Winter says, is in the basement of the University of Chicago and at Harvard and at Yale and at Oxford. They keep this information suppressed in the basements of these libraries and museums. So we cannot, we do know that there are massive great civilizations here. We do know that there are like pyramids here. We do know that there are a lot of things that was going on here in America that was also going on in Africa. But no, we cannot pin down when polyrhythms started in Africa and when they started here in America. So you cannot conclude that polyrhythms are African. We can conclude that polyrhythms are not European. And that's the basis a lot of your Africana studies and your Africa and Pan-Africans come from. They're looking at Africa in opposition to Europeans. Yes, Africans did have polyrhythms before Europeans because European classical does not have polyrhythms. It does not have call and response. So call and response and polyrhythms are rhythms that we can conclude Africa has and Europe doesn't. But you cannot conclude Africa has
and Native America doesn't. You can't draw that conclusion because these elements exist in their music too. And you cannot draw down for certain when it started and things like that. So the fact that I cannot definitely say that they think are African, I can't say it's African. What's up, Slick Double Nick? 5150. See, Pan-Africans, when I bring that part up, they're not ready for that. Because a lot of these niggas, and I'm going to tell the truth, and please don't get offended, but a lot of these niggas was educated in prison. And that's no disrespect to prison or prisoners. I love y'all too. No disrespect at all. And a lot of the ones that went to college, they studied majors like Africana Studies, history, English, not even English, history, Africana Studies, shit like that. I studied anthropology and how to research. I studied communication and how to communicate what I research. So when I research and when I communicate, I'm in direct alignment with what I studied. I'm not out of my lane. I'm completely within my lane. Minor in anthropology taught me how to research. Major in communication studies taught me how to communicate what I researched. And so when I set out to prove and draw a deeper connection between American music and Africa, I couldn't find anything outside of polyrhythms, call and response, the drum, as connections to Africa. And that's very, 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 very weak connections. Very weak. Nothing tangible. The banjo. Then when they say the drums, I'm a drummer. Do you know what a drum is? A drum is any fucking thing I hit. Drums are indigenous to wherever they are. As far as known discovery, the first African drum discovered in America was here, I think 1859. And when they did a forensic analysis of that drum, it was made out of wood from North Carolina. There's no evidence of African drums made out of African animals, African wood, from African trees in Africa, skins of animals in Africa, here in the Americas. The only drums discovered here in the Americas are of American hides, of American animals, and American wood. A drum is anything you can hit. Do you know that sometimes I'll be in the studio
When I used to get in the studio a lot, be in the studio a lot, do you know that sometimes the drum is a piece of wood, a cabinet, because the kick sound I want to make, that hollow cabinet from my ear sounds a little better than my kick drum. Well, I'll still play my kick, but I'll double my kick by pounding on this hollow cabinet. Doom, 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 doom. So I'm hitting with my kick. Duh, duh, duh. The foot pedal, a Black American invention, changed the world. You don't find this in Africa. This foot pedal doesn't exist in Africa. Only in America. A drum is anything you hit. Africa doesn't own the drum. And the function of American drums is completely different. So I asked myself some very critical questions. Why don't African drums, whatever African instruments, okay, the banjo, Africa uses the 5-note pentatonic scale. We don't even have the same scale. Our music downbeat ain't on the same count. Their downbeat is on the 1 and the 3 and 4/4 time. It's either on the quarter note or on the 1 and the 3. Our downbeat is on the 2 and the 4. We don't share downbeat. We don't share the same music scale. Our drums are completely different. And if you have any kind of knowledge of Native American drumming, look at the tom-toms on the drum set. Those is Indian drums, nigga. Them is Indian drums. We use sticks. African drums are mostly hands, or they have the big old mallet sticks. They got the big old mallet sticks that they use. We use these. These aren't African sticks. These are American sticks. Vic Firth, my favorite stick. These aren't African sticks, yo. Everything about our drums are completely different, from the makeup of the drums to the function of the drums. So I just couldn't draw really strong connections to Africa. And when I started to go outside of America, I could draw some definitely stronger connections to Europe. The piano. Piano didn't exist in Africa. The Moors had to create created the piano in Europe. They basically took the harp, which was in Africa, and they turned it around, put it in a box, and gave it some keys, made the piano. But the piano and the harp function, we picked up the piano. Harp is around, but piano is the basis of our music, an instrument that didn't exist in Africa. The saxophone was invented in 1859 in Europe, but it was a defunct, dusty instrument that no one used. But Ornette Coleman, Charlie Parker came around, Lester Young, and they made it a thing in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. People don't even know that the saxophone was an instrument that was just, it would be in the band, but it was never a featured solo instrument. No one played it. The harpsichord, that comes from the Bach era. We use that. We use the harpsichord in our music more than we use the banjo. Like, Ask yourself, outside of country and certain blues, you don't. When's the last time you heard a banjo in Black American music? They always say, well, the banjo came from Africa. Okay, cool, but tell me the last song you heard a banjo. So when I apply my anthropological cap to the African connection to Black American music, my conclusions kept bringing me right back here to America. And like anybody who's honest in their academic work, you're going to follow the path that the information leads you. And that's why we study ourselves here in America, our own families. You'll find that there's so much what you do on a day-to-day basis here will make sense when you study what goes on here. Your day-to-day here won't make as much sense when you don't know what people were doing in Africa, even if you don't know how recent or how far back your African ancestry exists or how much African ancestry you have. Out of Africa is a theory. It's not a law. A lot of evidence for out of Africa, but it's also a lot of evidence that we're star seeds. I may come from Sirius B, you may come from the Pleiades, I don't know. B. Frill said, I have African fatigue. You're right, Anthony Robertson, all music is regional. But when you study us here in America, you understand how deep it goes. And I will have this discussion with any Pan-Africanist, any age group. So I'm not against Pan-Africanism, but I'm definitely for remembering who we are here and knowing who we are here and knowing who you are, because that's what's going to give you the best way to navigate through what you're dealing with here, day to day. All right, I've been on here down there 2 hours. I'm gonna holler at y'all sometime tomorrow, but I'm gonna be on my PlayStation 5. Join my Patreon. I appreciate all y'all Cash App. Y'all have a good one. Celebrate these holidays how the fuck you want to celebrate them.